So new intro music. Hope you liked it. If you didn't, I don't really care. Let's talk about the Democratic Party and how it's hemorrhaging voters and why it's hemorrhaging voters. Taking a break. We just did 2 or 3, prepared podcasts. We can do something different. And I decided it's time to pick on the Democrats. I am not saying the Republican Party's perfect. I am not saying that they're even close to perfect. However, Democrats are just one after another colossal screw-up. But the best way to put it is they're hemorrhaging voters. I was watching a video clip, and before you say it, it could have been AI. I don't know. I think it still expresses most of the feelings. But there was actually a Somali resident in Minneapolis stating in a public forum that if the Democratic Party doesn't get ICE and all the investigators out of Little Mogadishu, which is Minneapolis, they're going to change their votes to the Republican Party. If you understood politics, you'd understand how big of a blow that is, because this gentleman was speaking for the entire population of Little Mogadishu, which, hell, I don't know, it's either 50,000 or 500,000 or whatever the number is. It's the exact amount of people would have to be to keep me from going to Minneapolis. So that's what the number is. This isn't a racial thing. This is not at all racial, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. I am all for people entering the country legally, going through, the gates and signing up and doing everything proper. I am so against the free pass the Somalis got to get into the country to overburden our unemployment or the EBT or whatever system they're taking advantage of. They had the daycare scandal, Learing Center, Learing, not learning. It just shows that they have become so comfortable with abusing the system and so complacent that they're not even paying attention to detail. This is all the Democrats' fault. There's plenty of people on the left side pointing fingers and saying, oh, it's not our fault, the Republicans this, the Republicans that. No, it's not. You didn't see any of this shit when Reagan was in the White House. We had it on lockdown. And I'm going to tell you something else. The one person that the Democrats keep going back to and sticking up for, Barack Obama, I'll tell you what, he was one of the biggest proponents to getting him out of here. It's just it wasn't publicized. The media kings, the media outlets, didn't speak against Barack because he was the first African-American president, and God bless him for that. But he was the first African-American president, and they were scared to death to say something against that. I don't know. I think it's all a crock of shit. People need to start growing a pair and saying what they're thinking. So here's where I see the real problem, is the hypocrisy of the Democratic Party. If they could accept they've been wrong, if they could accept that Trump isn't here to blow up the country, although he's not that great of a guy, I don't think personally, but he's getting the job done right now. But I digress. If the Democratic Party could just admit they've been wrong rather than telling one lie to replace another lie to try to make themselves sound better or right, but they just can't stop. They are just constantly bashing the Republicans. I don't see the point in it. I think people are really, really starting to see through all the bullshit. I think Hakeem Jeffries, for example, I think he really is starting to come across like the clown that he actually is. I mean, we're talking ass clown here. This guy is the most outspoken idiot next to Chuck Schumer the Democrats have. But Hakeem Jeffries, man, I don't know how he got to where he was at. I don't think he could count to potato, but that's on him, and that's on the Democrats. And then they got the Democrat cheerleader AOC. Gosh, she would have been an excellent Republican if she would have just cleared her head before she stepped off the pier. She's another one that's unfortunately making an idiot out of herself and her party every day. Talk about hypocrisy, taking private jets and big cars to all the events that she's saying it's so wrong when the Republicans do it, and she's doing it every week. And then she pounds on the pulpit saying how wrong the Republicans are for burning so much fossil fuels and this and that and everything else. I don't know. And then let's not forget about Jasmine Crockett ridiculing a Texas governor for being in a wheelchair. She can put any spin on it that she wants. She was making fun of him for being in a wheelchair. And anyone that wants to come to her rescue, why don't you leave me an address and we'll debate it. I cannot stand people who make fun of handicap, whether it's political or not. I've actually stopped reading political cartoons because they've made fun of people in wheelchairs. I'm not fond of that at all. I'm a longtime coach of the Special Olympics, and, well, that's another story for another time. But the Democratic Party is in a downward spiral. They're calling people to arms. They're calling people to violence and violent protests. They're paying people to protest violently. So let's get on the topic of Miss Good, who was tragically shot to death in her vehicle while maybe trying to run over an ICE agent. I don't know that I'm willing to get on board with the fact that it was pre-calculated, like she went out there to kill somebody. However, she did turn her car into a 2-ton bullet missile, whatever you want to call it, pointed directly at a federal agent. The death is a tragedy, but let's be honest, if she wouldn't have been there protesting, she'd still be alive today. She didn't think about her kids or her partner. She went on some deranged Trump TDS mission that it cost her life. If she'd stayed at home or gone to work, had a real job, gone to work, or done something productive instead of something counterproductive against society, she would still be alive today. The Christian in me feels bad that she died, but the reality of the situation is she is entirely responsible for the outcome of that situation, along with, okay, maybe not entirely, the people that programmed her, that brainwashed her, that caused her to get to the state that she would have been in, to get into something with the federal agents like that, and then floor her vehicle when there's a federal agent on her bumper. Now, watching the video, people are saying that, well, she couldn't see, she had her head turned to the aggressors at the door. No, I'm going to go back to what I said originally. If she'd have been at home, or she'd have been working a real 9-to-5 job rather than getting paid to protest, she'd be alive today. So anyone that wants to burn a candle for this idiot, I hope you burn your hands with the wax. She should not have been there. It's really that simple. Death is a tragedy. No matter who it happens to, it's a tragedy. But I think this was more natural selection than anything. Yeah, enough about that. I'm just, I think the whole thing's a tragedy. Let's go back to a little bit of history. The Democrats, they started a lot of this stuff, the race wars and the racism. For those of you that don't know, it started in the 1830s under what was it called, Jacksonian democracy, I believe, and it gave status to poor white farmers. They were justified in any violence they committed against slaves. They were justified against anything they did with Native American lands. They could take land by violence. It didn't start out with the whole slave thing. It just started out, the Jacksonian democracy started out with taking the land from the American Indians. The First Nations people, the people that were here first, the ones that deserve to keep it. But this all started back in the 1830s, and it's never really come close to healing itself. The Democrats are just, every major thing they've done has been screwed up. I can't think of anything recently that the Democrats did that looked good. I mean, it sounded good. You had Biden and Harris telling everybody how the economy's doing great, and everything's on the uptick, and everything's going to be good. But the fact that people bought into that, when you could just look at the numbers, you could look at the stocks, you could look at gasoline prices, and for fuck's sake, you could look at grocery prices, and you could see it. And in some people's minds, I guess the purple and blue-haired Democrats' minds, even though they were seeing the numbers going up, even though they knew they were getting less for what they were spending, or taking more of their paycheck to buy groceries and feed their kids and buy gas, for some stupid reason, some of these people actually bought into all the crap. Now, part of the problem I have is the hypocrisy is going to show its ugly face again very, very soon. Gas prices are dropping across the nation. Grocery prices will be dropping. Part of the reason why grocery prices are so high is to fuel the vehicles that are bringing groceries into the stores. So I said before that, this big plan that Trump and his people have to bring prices down and make living more affordable isn't going to happen right away. I expected it to take a second term where probably Vance was in there to actually start seeing these prices dropping. But I got to tell you, sports campers, the sports campers, what the hell is that? Let's just say campers. I got to tell you, campers, it's already starting to happen. Now, there's a precautionary note here that prices dropping too fast can also cause a problem. There's all kinds of rumors going around about another stimulus check getting cut, which I think is a crock of shit, but it seems to have taken on a life of its own. I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't see Democrats ever going up to the gas pump and saying, "Damn it, Trump, you dropped the prices again. I'll just park my car here and start using a bicycle. I refuse to pay the gas prices that you've afforded us, I would rather be paying $3.25 or $3.50 a gallon. I'd feel better about it. But now it's $2.50 a gallon or $2.25 a gallon, and I refuse to pay it." I don't see this happening. I don't see them taking any kind of a aggressive approach towards it. I just think they're going to fail to mention it. They won't be grateful. They're just going to fail to mention it. The grocery prices are going to drop. I don't see them saying, "Nope, I'm not eating this food. The prices are too low. I'll go, club a rabbit and make, rabbit for dinner," or so, I don't know. Use your imagination. But I don't see them protesting lower grocery prices and lower gas prices. I think they're going to start really scrambling to find something to complain about. I think the majority of it's going to be all bullshit like it already is, but I think we're going to start to hear some really, really weird claims. But I see the problem being, once you back them into the corner, they're going to try to fight. I think once we have them to the point where they have no room to complain, where everybody's telling them you were wrong, whatever, that's when I think the factions are going to come out. They're going to start making up reasons to fight and protest, and I really think the lines are going to be drawn. Now, lucky for most of us God-worshiping, God-fearing, gun-toting Republicans, we have nothing to worry about. I mean, let's be honest. They shot at Trump twice and they couldn't take him out. God bless Donald Trump, and the shooters, I hope they get what they deserve in prison. But God knows they can't shoot. That's the point I'm trying to make. They can't shoot straight. I'm figuring for every 200 rounds they fire at one of us, we'll probably take 1 or 2 rounds to fire back at them, I guess. I don't know. Do the math. I don't know. I just don't see the Democrats taking a successful stand. Although if you watch and you read and you follow the news and, I'm not saying go on the dark web. I'm just saying go on the independent news stations. Some of these liberals, especially for some reason, the violent lesbian liberals are arming themselves. They've got actually some high-speed weapons. I've seen quite a few ARs. I've seen a bunch of stuff. Now, I don't think they know what to do with it if they went to the range, but, even a blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then. If they spray enough rounds downrange, they're bound to hit something sooner or later. But they're actually getting organized, and some of them are going to the range. And don't forget, all those military dropouts that turn trans, they can probably shoot a weapon and teach how to use it. So we got to watch out for them. When you see a man running down the street in a skirt with an AR-15, there's probably a bunch of blue hairs following close behind. So just keep that in mind. I still feel something coming. I think we're closer than ever to it happening. I don't want anybody living in fear. I'm not going to tell you to go out and buy a bunch of anything or do anything stupid. But I really, really think something is coming because we're backing them into the corner unintentionally. I mean, maybe it's intentional. I don't know. But they're getting backed into the corner. And everyone knows an animal is the most dangerous when they're backed into a corner and they got nowhere to go. So, keep listening, stay alert, but listen to your news, watch what's going on, listen to these idiots at work that are banging on the drum about the horrible things Trump's doing. Excuse me. Don't forget, the horrible things Trump's doing. The horrible things Trump is doing is dropping gas prices and dropping grocery prices. So that should tell you how deranged these people are. They're complaining about the very things that will make their life better. And I think the next thing we're going to see is real estate prices coming down and definitely prescription drug medications coming down. I'd really like to do a podcast on prescription drugs as well. I have a ex in my past that worked for a pharmaceutical company, and she refused to take most of the big pharma medications, and she actually went to work for a holistic medicine company because she said every medicine that's created is to cause. I got to get this right. Every medicine created by big pharma is created to cause another problem that you're going to need another medication for. That's what I was trying to say. Now, she's my ex, so she's probably full of shit, but I actually believe that one thing. This isn't going to be a long one. I just wanted to get my thing out about Democrats, and I really like the picture I'm going to use for the heading of this one. I got a big kick out of it. So, still haven't thought anything new, so peace out.